Israel Adesanya, his opponent, Paulo Costa, pulls out, right? Welcome to last week's news. Yeah, I got it. But as soon as Costa pulls out, Adesanya instantly starts something with Romero. Now, that was interesting for a couple of reasons. First off, that's a very classic matchup. That's a very hard match. And the new champion wants the match. Now, before you start looking too much at Romero, make sure you understand Adesanya is playing this game the way the game is meant to be played at the highest of levels. Back up one more time. He gets done with his business with Robert Whittaker. He instantly calls out Paulo Costa. He instantly, before the night is over, sets up his next job. Sets up his next line of work, training camp. I think he even requested a location, but he took charge, got what he wanted. So as soon as he now loses that opponent, he doesn't waste any time. And he doesn't let anybody else start dictating the terms for him. He goes after the opponent he wants. In this case, it was Yoel Romero. Now, very honorable because that's a very hard fight, but this is the way Adesanya is doing his career. But just to share with you some of the psychology and what he's thinking and why he's doing it, he's a step ahead. There's something to learn from the way this guy helps to run his own career. Okay. The problem with the Yoel Romero fight, is that a great fight? Yes. Does that work? Has Yoel caught on and people know who he is and they want to see him? Check, check, and check. And that's not something you could have said a couple of years ago. You go back 3 or 4 years, Yoel was kind of under the radar. The hardcores respected him, saw it, knew this guy's a problem, but he wasn't a household name. Right? Didn't speak real good English, didn't do a lot of interviews. Just a few things that held Yoel back just a little bit. He was up there in age. I want to say he came in the UFC. He was already like 36 years old. Most people thought he shouldn't even be given a chance. Now he's 43. He's had 3 title fights. The problem that I see is that he missed weight for 2 of those. Had Yoel Romero beaten the scale the day before he beat Luke Rockhold, he would have been a champion. He would be recognized through the rest of his life as a champion. Point being is not to kick Yoel when he's down. It's just to bring up the fact that if you're a promoter and you're looking to book somebody, a 43-year-old who's been given 3 opportunities, took 2 of them away from himself, it's probably not your very first choice. Well, it's what Adesanya wants, though. So Adesanya certainly got an opinion in this thing that's going to matter. Somebody asked Dana about this. And Dana said, I don't have a problem with the match, but Yoel's got to get a win. He just lost to Paulo. And though Paulo is now out, it's not enough for me to say, okay, well then the loser of that match is given the opportunity. I got to put a guy coming off a win into a championship fight. But here's what I'm thinking of doing. I'm thinking of putting Israel on ice, getting Yoel a fight soon, and should he win that fight or his opponent win that fight, they can then move into Adesanya. Now that was interesting for a few reasons. First off, that's really something to look forward to, right? If you're going to have a semifinal number 1 contenders match and it gets identified as such ahead of time, great. But Dana also gave us one other clue, which he didn't say if Yoel wins, Yoel will get the fight. He said, or if his opponent wins, whoever wins the fight gets to move on. And where that becomes compelling is, well, who should Yoel fight? I think we can all agree, I don't think anybody would disagree, that Yoel is a top contender any day of the week, any way you want to do it. We also can't disagree that he's coming off a loss and to throw him right into a world title fight is a little bit of a stretch. We've seen it before, but it's a little bit of a stretch. Even when we saw it before, took a little bit of effort, right? So who should Yoel fight? That division is very weird right now. Whittaker's going to be out for a minute. Kelvin Gastelum just lost. Till's only been in the division for a second here, though he is a big name and he is undefeated, even if it's at 1-0. Weidman left the division. Jacare left the division. I mean, you see what I'm talking about? Who knows what Anderson Silva wants to do? I mean, the division's a little bit strange right now. So if we got Adesanya in there, and now we've established that Romero is going to be in the hunt somewhere, who should go against Romero? Should we scrap the whole idea and we just call Darren Till right now? I'm in for that. Do we get Darren Till in there against Romero and burn one of the top contenders just so one can become a contender and move on? I mean, there's something to be said for that, but is that the play you want to make? So I'm asking you. I'd like to hear from you guys. Who should face Romero in a match predetermined to be the number 1 contenders fight?
Thanks for liking and and subscribing to the bad guy of YouTube. Chael Sonnen, he's a-coming, breaking down your fighting news. Better subscribe to the bad guy right here on YouTube. Bringing new content every single day. The stories, the fighters, a true